with Big D and Bubba.
Yeah, all right.
Well, look at that. That looks like Bryan White.
Bryan White with a great tan and everything, man.
A Nashville tan.
Way. It's kind of like L.A. with a tan. All right. He is our guest this week, Bryan White on Honky Tonkin. Bryan White is our guest this week. So good to have you, man. Thanks for taking the time.
Thank you. Likewise.
And coming and wasting it with us. Hey, talk to us about your first number one. Someone else's star.
Yeah, first number one record. Thanks be to God to Skip Ewing and Jimmy Weatherly. They both co-wrote that song. A lot of people don't know Jim Weatherly was a co-writer on that, and he wrote Midnight Train to Georgia.
Yeah.
A ton of hits, for other people. That was a song that a friend of mine played me in the early days when we started looking for songs for my first record, and it was, upon hearing it, I knew that it was for me, and I couldn't wait to get in and record it. Long story short, that's a demo. It's Billy Joe Walker Jr. playing acoustic guitar, and I sang it, and it was...
Wait. You're saying the version that we all know is a demo?
It's a demo.
What?
The actual thing that we're hearing is the demo?
Yeah, there were instruments cut around this guitar vocal, but it is a demo. It's a guitar vocal demo. Yeah.
And you're 21.
20.
20?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Isn't that crazy?
Bryan White is our guest this week. So, Bryan, I'm intrigued by your mom's pop group that she had back in the day. Mm-hmm. Your mom had a pop group, and your dad had a country group.
Yeah, I mean, more or less. They did whatever they needed to. When you're a musician, a local musician, you do what you play whatever they need. But primarily, those were kind of where my mom and dad kind of landed.
Did they have any successes or anything, or regionally at least?
My mom had local success singing a couple of jingles that you still hear on the radio today.
What, really?
Yeah, and then my dad, well, both of them moved to L.A. for short times, trying to take a stab at it, but just couldn't get it going. They were trying to raise my brother and I. So,
yeah, right. Yeah. And then they said, "Hey, I think Bryan, he may be our ticket out of here.
You're the golden ticket.
Let's put all our eggs in Bryan's basket." Bryan White is our guest this week. Love Bryan. He's I always forget that you started when you were so young, because it looks like you're still 25. It's weird. It's weird to look at you. So if I look at you and I'm like, this guy's on myself. Hey, talk to us about a little song called "From This Moment."
From this moment on, I'm asleep on the bus. We're at load in. I think the show was maybe in Chicago, and it was kind of before cell phones, believe it or not. We had an analog phone that was like an emergency bat phone on the bus, and we didn't even use it for radio phoners. We used it if it was like an emergency.
Real thing, okay.
And Brinson, my tour manager, woke me up and said, "Hey, I know this sounds crazy, but Shania Twain and Mutt Lange are on the phone, and they want to talk to you on this expensive phone."
Also, this is a heyday of Shania, right?
Yeah. And lo and behold, it was them. It was not a crank call or somebody playing a trick on me. And they were singing the song back and forth to me, they wanted me to sort of sing back to them. No, they were trying to key it up to find a good key for me and hear my range.
Oh, okay.
And Shania said she thought I was, I guess I was her favorite male country singer at that time. And she said I reminded her of Paul Carrick a little bit. And I said, I'm in. Let me know when to show up and grab the demo to learn the song. And just literally 3 or 4 weeks later, I was in the studio working with her. And it was another worldly experience, not only just working with Shania, but
also Mutt.
Yeah, I mean,
he's legendary. All the AC/DC, Def Leppard, Loverboy, you name
Bryan
anything
Adams,
from that era.
Yeah, Billy Ocean. I mean, all that stuff. It was really just such a highlight. It was really a God thing. I'm so grateful to have been the guy she called. There's a ton of singers in the world that can sing circles around me, and she called me, and so I get to sing that every night, and it's really the biggest hit that I'm connected to. It was really spectacular.
All right, we're gonna take you back right now. It's Bryan White and Shania from this moment.
Bryan White is our guest this week. He's great, but he's also got a great family. I've never met your wife, Erica.
Really?
Is she? Didn't she start? Was she an actress?
Yep.
Is she still an actress?
Yeah,
Okay.
she primarily is known for her work on soaps. She did a lot of soap stuff in the 90s.
When you guys got married, she was really big. What show was it?
One Life to Live.
And so she was Erica Page back then, and
Yeah.
it was a big deal.
Yeah.
I remember Country Weekly, the magazines
yes.
you would get
Yeah.
at the grocery store.
Oh, Country Weekly. It came out every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Which is weird. I never figured that one
Country
out.
Biweekly. But yeah, so yeah, I remember like it was this big. There was a big write up on you guys, and it
Wow,
was like
yeah.
it was news.
How about that for an Oklahoma kid?
Funny, man. And she's from Oklahoma too, oddly
Oh, okay.
enough. Yeah, we grew up an hour and a half from each other. She's from Tulsa.
Bryan White is our guest. We'll talk more with Bryan as we come back. Hang on. Bryan White's our guest this week as we take you back to 1997 and a song called "Sittin' on Go." Is this a song did you write this, or was this a?
I did not write this one. Josh Leo wrote that song.
Okay.
Believe it or not. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't believe it.
I don't believe it. Believe it. It was a nice. It was an up tempo song because you're got really known for these like ballads, and you get the song. It's like it's popping. That probably had to be fun to sing on stage.
Yeah, well, it still is. I mean,
Yeah.
it's typically the one I open the whole show with. Usually, it's fun. It's I always love the key change into the chorus, and it's just a fun tune. And a lot of people don't realize that was a really big hit. It was a number one. I think it was the first or second number one off of my second album. It's definitely it's one that people want to hear.
It was number one for a couple weeks, right?
So much for pretending was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Either way, dude,
Yeah.
it's a number one.
Yeah.
So we're going to go ahead and crank it up right now. It's sitting on go, and we're coming right back with Bryan White.
Hey, it's an honor to have Bryan White hanging out with us this week in the studio. So Bubba was telling me about. I know you guys know each other personally, like families. I don't even know. Wow, how do you guys know each other?
Our kids know each other, and yeah, so
Yep.
they were like, they used to hang out back in the day.
Yeah.
So Bryan,
great.
I remember like my son Frankie said, "Hey, Dad, do you know Bryan White has to go to the Philippines?" I'm like, "Why does he have to go to the Philippines?" Because he's like Elvis there.
Oh,
Like,
really?
So there is a song from a soap opera in the Philippines. What song? And it became like a love song. Kind of fill us all in.
I'll try to make it quick because it's kind of a lengthy story. So I did a record with Dan Huff. It was one of the last records I did for Asylum Records. And I recorded this song that James Dean Hicks, Andy Goldmark, and Jamie Houston wrote called God Gave Me You. I just thought it was a smash. I thought it was a great song. And it was, it was a little bit cutting edge and, different. And it was even released as a single and not really a big hit here. I think a lot of fans liked it.
But it's a great song.
Yeah, and then 15, 16 years later, a buddy of mine texted me from a cab in a monsoon in Manila, and he goes, "Dude, you are on the radio in Manila right now. It's God Gave Me You." And I didn't think anything of it. So, a few months later, this thing becomes massive because of a TV show over there. And there was a couple that they called them a love team. And these two, really successful singers and actors made this song their theme song. And it caused the song to skyrocket. And all of a sudden, I find myself, east a
Well,
lot.
you said, like Frankie told me, he said he got off the airplane and was mobbed in the airport, and like people thought it was the craziest thing. Like of all places, you go, the Philippines?
It was wild. It came out of left field for me. I kind of thought, people had told me, you're going to need to have security and all these different things. And I'm a little jaded, and I was like, man, I don't know about that. Let's just roll. And they were right. We did have security, but it wasn't, like we needed security because people were jumping on me. It was just because there were so many people
Crowd control.
coming to you,
Straight up mob,
and it was,
man.
it was,
Look
it
at
was,
you.
it was incredible. It's still, I still go back, and do stuff there, and it's nuts, man. They really love that song.
Bryan White is our guest this week as we look back at some of the great songs. A song that's one of Bubba's favorites.
I like the ballads. I mean, I'm always the ballad guy because I'm a softie. I have a big heart.
Yep.
But loves That's Another Song.
Yeah, that's another song. Is well, it's another song. No, that I have two funny stories about that song. I couldn't wait to get in and record it, and it's one of my favorite vocals. And I still remember very vividly that video. And one day, my kiddo Jackson, who is friends with Sean's kiddo, and I was sitting on the couch one day watching TV with Jackson, and that video came on because we were flipping through the TV, and it was back when CMT used to play music videos.
Yeah.
And it was that song, and Jack, sort of got this glazed over look, and he finally looks over at me because I'm interacting with this beautiful young lady all throughout the video, and finally he looks over at me and he goes, "Dad, does Mom know about that?" I said, "Yeah, she knows,
It'll pay for this house we're in.
Yeah,
so.
exactly. And then on mine and Erica's very first date in Los Angeles, it's kind of cheesy. I don't know why I sang that song for
You
her.
did
How
that?
weird is that? But I did. I sang that song
man,
to her.
dude.
Did she ask you to sing for her?
No.
Oh, that's even worse, Brian. What are
It's
you doing?
So cringy, man.
Jeez.
But maybe that's how I sealed the deal. I don't know.
It must have worked.
Brian White's joining us in the studio this week. So, how much are you touring a year?
I work with the greatest agent in the world. I'm just going to start with that.
Okay.
No, Nick is awesome. I stay really busy, and I'd say the bulk of my work and being on the road is from May to October. Fairs, festivals, and some theaters. Sometimes it's just an acoustic gig, and I've got two players with me singing harmony, and then sometimes it's a full band. So I do hard rocks a lot,
Yeah. Well, I think that your voice is so good and solid. Like you don't really need a whole lot of other stuff around you, I would think.
Well, I worked hard all through my career to be a better guitar player as I got older because I always wanted to be self-sufficient. But at the same time, I miss, when I am totally solo, I miss the synergy that happens when you got a couple players with you. You got the harmonies, and it sort of lifts you and amplifies what you're doing.
He's on Instagram. You can check him out for touring and other kind of just things going on. Bryan, it's Bryan. Bryan underscore White. Yes, Bryan with a Y. Bryan underscore White on Instagram. Brian White, you're joining us in the studio. By the way, that's Bryan. Brian White.
Yeah, getting the text and people are spelling it wrong. It's like, and I feel bad correcting people. I'm like, B-R-Y.
The only way to spell it.
That's right. Hey, talk to us about Love is the Right Place.
Love is the Right Place. Marcus Hummon and Tommy Sims are two of my favorite artists and writers. They're just phenomenal people. They wrote that song. Believe it or not, I have written a lot of my songs, but the ones we've been talking about today, I have not written.
The good ones. The good
ones.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got you. Yeah.
But I tell people all the time when I get far enough away from Nashville, and if somebody comes up after a show and says, "Man, I really love that Rebecca Lynn that you wrote," if I'm far enough away from Nashville and nobody knows, I don't even say anything. I
You
just
don't
go,
correct
"Oh,
them.
thanks, man. I really appreciate it."
I remember where I was when I wrote that song. I did right.
Kyle Lenning, who I just grabbed dinner with a couple nights ago, signed me to Asylum Records when I was 18. He brought me that song, and I just laughed. I was just goofy, giddy, because I thought, man, this is exactly what we need for this record. It's so hard to find and write up tempos that are cool.
Yeah.
And this one was kind of had all the stuff. It had all the, the cool, the great key change thing, and then the melody was so fun, and it was just, it sounded like me, and I just couldn't wait to get in and record it. And it still probably, to this day, is probably still my favorite one. Even when I'm sick or hoarse or whatever, it somehow it always sort of shines through for me. It's always one that I love singing live.
Brian White, kind enough to lend us some time, hanging out with us this week in the studio. Hey, talk to us about your son. Is Jackson Jack?
Yeah,
he's kind of mini you. Is he's your mini me?
Oh, I don't know. Jackson he's kind of blazing his own trail. He's got a really interesting, cool voice, and I'm just really proud of him. He's, as my dad would say back in the day, boy, that boy's ate up with it,
Yeah.
He is part of the commercial music program at Samford in Birmingham, and he also is he's there on a track scholarship as well. So
Nice.
he's kind of juggling two things, but in every sense of the word, he really is an artist. He's getting way better on piano, and he's just getting better as a singer and as a writer. And we about every 2 or 3 months we put out something new, and there's nothing like working with your kid in a creative capacity like that,
Yeah.
So the last thing we put out on Jack, it was he wanted to do a cover of a Huey Lewis and the News tune, and it was "If This Is It." And
Oh
so
wow,
it
like
was,
the doo-wop kind of.
yeah.
Wow.
And it was just so fun digging in and dissecting that tune, and it's so great. But Jack's amazing, and I have 2 amazing sons. My oldest son is awesome, and he's a junior at UT Knoxville. So I'm a proud dad.
Look at you. Bryan White in the studio, and our guest this week. I don't know if y'all know this, but he's the one who sang a song called Rebecca Lynn. I don't know if you ever heard of that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's him.
Yeah.
That's him. And when I think of you, that's my song in my head that I connect to you.
And for some reason, you do the whole Big D goes into this whole maypole thing, like the ring around the rosy thing. You get goofy with it every time.
I really do. So how did this song come about? I know you didn't write it, but I'll make sure everyone knows the best song he's ever done, he didn't write. Just so y'all know. Did you know that?
Oh God. Well, I have to give props to Skip Ewing. He was co-creator of 3 of my consecutive #1s. So Skip Ewing is awesome. He co-wrote that with Don Sampson. And you know what? You don't care whether you wrote them or not. You're grateful that you have them. But that one is, I think, probably synonymous with my name. I mean, people associate that song.
I do.
Probably more with me. I still love it. I miss songs like this. The passage of time and life, or we called them ABC songs. You start out when you're a kid, you're in high school, and then you're old. There's so much of that in the '90s, which I miss.
Yes.
But it just, when a melody is sort of, gets married to a great cadence and a great lyric, and then you got, Billy Joe Walker Jr. and Paul Lyme and all those great musicians. It was just a kind of a match made in heaven.
Bryan White is our guest this week. And so, hey, talk to us about, I know you started out so young in the business. You're 20 years old, and you have like number one, Grammy, ACM, CM. It's a lot. Was there a point in your career where you just had enough?
Absolutely. I started getting over myself around 1999. It's kind of like this. It's like this machine that's just moving at such a rapid pace. And I had a great team and great people and a great label that everybody worked hard collectively. But there was a point toward the end of the '90s where I just wanted to stop and go. I wanted to jump on a plane and go somewhere to go fishing or go see my mom or go to. And it was like this. It's kind of like you sort of felt like you were in the mafia. You couldn't get out.
Yeah.
How am I going to get out of this for a minute? I'd say that I'm grateful, incredibly grateful, because it sustains my family, and I'm still working, and I'm grateful for that. But if I could go back and do anything differently, that might be one thing, is just to sort of step in and say, man, I need a break a little bit more.
It's important for younger artists right now to hear that.
Yeah.
You get these guys, they'll just chew you up.
Well, the problem is because even it happened in radio too. It's so hard when you're the young guys trying to prove yourself to say no, because you're afraid that if you say no, that they're going to move on to the next thing.
That's so true.
It's scary. So
And
you just do it.
And you're sort of made to believe that from your management and from your label. And
Not sort of. You are made to believe it.
Yeah.
If you won't do it, boy, we'll get somebody who will. And so
That's
we
right.
do it.
Yeah.
That's very true.
Bryan White is our guest this week. You can find him on all social media. Just look at Bryan. It's Bryan with a Y, BRYAN _White on Instagram. A song that Not Supposed to Love You Anymore, man. What a huge ballad this
Thank
song
you.
was.
Thank you. One of my favorites. Man, it's a my dad would say, "Son, that'll bring a tear to a glass eye." You know, just one of those really heart wrenching ballads. You know, it's especially the last verse is just so gut wrenching. You know, and it's I love singing it. And a lot of people, when I sing with artists from time to time, that is one that they want to sing with me. And I remember not the last time I did the Opry, but 3 or 4 times back on the Opry, I did that song with Carrie Underwood. We did that one together, and it was so cool. It's just crazy. I mean, she didn't have to. You know, she sang that song like she, you know, knew it like the back of her hand. You know,
Because she does.
Well, she's also an Oklahoma girl. You're an Oklahoma guy. It's like you guys all have this little mafia.
It's
you
also
have your little clique.
and it's a great song. Like artists are gonna. I mean, it is. It's a.
Yeah.
You love
it is
singing
a
it.
good
She
song.
loves singing it. And we love hearing it.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it, man, and it was a number one as well. So grateful to everybody out there for believing in it for sure. One tidbit of info on that tune. Back in the '90s, I don't deal with it as much anymore. It's kind of weird. I guess your system acclimates to your region that you live in. But back during that time, I remember canceling vocal sessions sometimes, and the producers and I would go to L.A. or Arizona to do vocals because it was dry and I didn't have vocal your nose
sinuses.
wasn't all stopped up. And I always thought I sounded incredibly nasally on that song, but Kyle and Billy, who were producing those records at that time, they were like, no, trust us, this is fine. And I guess the proof was in the pudding. I guess it ended up being fine.
It's
a
okay.
hit.
I think
It's definitely fine.
But I still hear it in there. So. The critic.
Bryan White in the studio as we are enjoying all of the great stories and behind the scenes stuff. He's taking selfies in the studio. I'm not even sure what you're doing. What are you doing? You're just taking pictures right now. You're like, hey man, you do you. By the way,
I'm my own publicist today.
The first time I saw you in concert, it was you and Randy Travis touring together. What was that like?
Wow. I wonder where that was.
It was Reno.
Yes, I remember that show.
It was an outdoor show.
Yes. Herb was playing drums for Randy. I remember that. And there was a driving range behind the stage where it was a lake.
It was a lake, and you hit the
And
balls
you hit the ball
into
in the
it.
lake.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Man, it was just, again, otherworldly. Randy was always so kind to me. And, of course, we had a mutual connection through Kyle Lenning. Kyle produced all of his records, and Kyle produced my records and signed me to Asylum. And Randy was, he's one of the greatest singers to ever, grace a microphone and to grace country music. And some would say the greatest. He was just phenomenal, and he always sounded wonderful live, and always treated us with great respect, and just really fun guy to be around.
Every time I got around Randy Travis, like back then, because I was like this young little baby DJ, I can remember feeling like you're standing next to a Civil War general. Because like he had that stoicism.
Chiseled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
He
air
was like
about him, yeah.
unflappable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bryan White is joining us in the studio, loving all these great songs and stories, man. And a song I always think about is, so much for pretending. I always hear that for some reason, so much for pretending. It stays in my head from the very first time I heard it.
I know why, because as a DJ, we're taking phone calls and all that kind of stuff. So we hear the beginnings. We know the beginnings and ends of every
Maybe
song.
that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
maybe
like
that's it.
literally the skin on your body. And so like it's the very end, and it was like you knew, like you could hear it in the background and go, oh, turn up, because we have to go on the radio.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. This is a song that, did you know this was going to be, like the first time you heard it, you're like, yeah, this is going to be great.
I had high hopes for it for sure. Derek George, John Tiro, and I wrote that together, rolling down the road, and I just thought it was a really cool song. It was different. It was kind of it was a really wordy, fast. It was trucking along the melody, and I just thought it was really different and needed to be heard. I had a lot of people in my camp, so-called camp, during that time. We're not really in favor of releasing that as a single.
Why?
Well, a couple people said they thought it was just a little bit too pop, And of course, if you compare that to today, it's a whole different deal. But I'm
sound like Grandpa Jones.
Yeah, I'm Mae West. You know, you know, whatever. And it ended up being a #1 for multiple weeks in a row. I remember I was at Lake Texoma hanging with my family, getting ready to go striper fishing, and Derek George called me, and he said, "Well, we're #1. I can't believe it. This all started out with just a little guitar riff on a bus, and here we are." And I think it was shocking, but it was just, you know, incentive that just a reminder that, you know, we can do this. We can keep doing this. You know, as long as we're being true to the music and trying to just write the best stuff we can. You just never know where it's going to end up. You know.
Bryan White joining us, and so we were talking about the song "So Much for Pretending" that we played a little bit ago, but you had a follow-up story about it.
Yeah, I had a house in Creve Hall off of Harding here in Nashville, and I had ADATs. That's what I was recording on at the time.
What?
ADATs. It was just a
digital audio
format.
Yeah.
And I was really interested in learning more about recording and producing, and we were starting to mess around and do our own things. You know, the writers and I, and my producers, they dug the vocals so much from that demo that I don't know how they did this back then, but they transferred those vocals over to the actual track that we cut of So Much for Pretending. And I don't know how they synced them up, but they did. I don't know. I mean, all the digital.
So you had a demo audio put on this actual song.
Yes, and that was the first time I'd ever seen anybody transfer that. I was mind blown.
Well, nowadays we would just tell AI to do it, and it would just pop out.
Yeah,
that was
Siri.
That was actually some real technical work they were doing, actually.
Yeah, so I mean, it was just cool. It just it made us even more excited that we're doing work that they don't want to try to replicate. It sounds good enough the way it is. Let's leave it alone. So,
Bryan White is joining us this week on the show. So this is where we call Dealer's Choice, where you get to pick a song, it could be yours or someone else's, and tell us why you want us to play this song.
This is a duet by Steve Wariner and Nicolette Larson, and it was a song called "That's How You Know When Love's Right," and it was a big hit. I mean, I guess this must have been, I don't know, I'm just going to guess, 85, 86. And I'm not sure who the writers were, but my mom's band, though they were primarily a top 40, pop situation, I went to rehearsal one day at the club they were set up at. My brother and I were just a couple of rugrats, running around causing mischief probably, but by proxy, I heard that song over and over and over because they were learning that. Mm-hmm. They were learning that tune. And that is the very instant, you talk about defining moments, I kept hearing Steve's voice over and over, and I hadn't heard Steve up until that point. And that is where I literally, from that point forward, it was like I started to dig into Steve's music and try to emulate him, and he became my biggest musical hero from that point on, and I tried to just emulate his tone, his playing, and tried to, he was such a huge influence on me, and ultimately I think that is sort of what sort of conformed me toward Nashville and making music, was that very, hearing that song over and over and being introduced to Steve.
Well, this was a top 10 in 1986. That's how you know when love's right. It's Steve Wariner and Nicolette Larson. Dealer's Choice for Bryan White. We'll come right back.
Man, what a fun show it's been with Bryan White. Dude, thank you for doing this. I know it's a waste of time.
Nah, not at all.
Everyone says it, but we appreciate it. Thank you.
Likewise. Thanks for reaching out to me.
What do we need for you? What can we push for you? Like, what's moving forward, touring? How do people get stuff on you? Yeah, because
once we press the button, we're gone.
Yeah, you can find out where I'm going to be at bryanwhite.com, Bryan with a Y.
Bryan with a
Y. I'm doing so many different things. I'm producing a lot these days. And I started doing mentorships back a year ago. And if anybody is interested out there in just taking the next step in their musical journey, whether it's songwriting or becoming an artist, whatever it is, maybe you've been at it for a while and you just need a nudge. And The email address that I direct everybody to for that is just brianwhiteentertainment@gmail.com. And I'm doing a lot of that and touring.
And they can find that on your website as well?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. So doing a lot of that, writing songs, traveling and touring and producing Jackson White.
Yeah, your son. I love it. You can get all that information, like you said, on his website, bryanwhite.com.
With Big D and Bubba.